hope you enjoyed today's flight and all the pilots we're going to learn about. Don't forget to open your Let's Travel the World passport for each location. You can use the stickers that were provided to mark each spot we visit. Don't forget to wear your button. The first book we will be reading today is The Wright Brothers' First Flight. It is by Thomas Kingsley Troop, and we are reading it with permission from Capstone Press. One day in 1903, Horace and I found ourselves in Dayton, Ohio. We were outside a bicycle shop listening to two men talking. The men were brothers named Orville and Wilbur Wright. They wanted a way for people to travel through the air. Ha! Funny stuff. People can't fly, only bugs and birds can do that. Horace and I were curious, so we flew into the shop to hear more. We saw drawings of wings the brothers were going to build. The wings didn't look anything like the ones on our backs. The Wright brothers called their fake wings a flying machine. They worked on it when they weren't fixing bikes. The Wright brothers also owned a printing shop. Skills from both businesses helped them design and build their airplanes. I saw a photo of Wilbur, and he was flying. He was lying down on something the brothers called their 1902 glider. They talked about how much they wanted to be able to go further. The 1902 glider was the third glider the Wright brothers had built. They connected bicycle chains to a small moving flap called an elevator. Pulling the chains made the glider go up or down. The brothers steered by moving their hips. Horace and I stuck around a while. Orville and Wilbur talked about building an engine for their flying machine. They got help from a man named Charles Taylor. The engine has to be lightweight, Orville said, no more than 200 pounds. We need it to produce at least 8 horsepower, Wilbur said. The Wright brothers were really smart. They weren't messing around. They worked with a wooden box with a fan attached to it. It was called a wind tunnel. They used it to test wings for their new flyer. I flew by the wind tunnel once for a closer look. It blew me away. Next, Orville and Wilbur carved long sticks called propellers. They planned to attach them to the engine using bicycle chains. Could this flying machine work? We were going to find out. Horace and I followed the brothers to a place called Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Horace was spooked at first. He's afraid of hawks. Kitty Hawk had a lot of sand dunes, hills, and wind, but I didn't see any hawks. Orville and Wilbur unpacked their flyer pieces in a big empty building. They called it a hangar. I guess that's where the flyer was going to hang out once they put it together. The Wright brothers put on the wings first. Next, they put the propellers and engine into place. Orville looked worried. He told Wilbur their flyer might be too heavy. With the weather just right, it was time to try and fly. A group of men pushed the flyer up the hill. The brothers said a prayer, and Wilbur took out a coin. He flipped it to see who would try the flyer first. Wilbur won. The engine started, and boy was it loud. 2 kids and a dog got scared and ran away. The flyer slid on the rail and started to lift. A few seconds later, the engine stopped and the flyer crashed. The Wright brothers weren't going to give up. They worked quickly to repair the damage. Wilbur sent a telegram to their dad, Bishop Milton Wright. He wanted him to know how things were going. The telegram read, "There is now no questions of final success. Rudder only injured, success ensured. Keep quiet." December 1903. Morning came and I nudged Horace awake. He said he had been dreaming about flies riding bicycles. Everyone was ready to watch the Wright brothers' second try. There was even a man with a camera. We buzzled over to watch. This time it was Orville's turn to be the pilot. He climbed aboard. The engine started and the flyer moved down the rail. I was pretty sure it was going to crash again, but it didn't. The flyer actually flew. It didn't stay up for long, but it flew. The brothers' short first flight wasn't enough. Horace and I watched them try again and again. They took turns. Each time the flyer flew a little further and a little longer. Wilbur flew for the 4th and final time that day. The flyer was in the air for almost a minute. It flew 852 feet. The Wright brothers had done it. They invented the first working airplane. Horace and I stuck around. We wanted to see Orville and Wilbur fly some more the next day. If they flew further each time, who knew how far they could go? But that wasn't going to happen. Without warning, a gust of wind blew across the dunes. It caught the flyer and flipped it over, knocking it to pieces. No one was hurt, but the world's first airplane was never going to fly again. Even so, the Wright brothers didn't seem too upset. They knew how to fly. Any new machine they built would be even better. Even though their flyer was wrecked, the Wright brothers felt good. They wanted to share their news with their family back home. They sent a telegram. It read, "Success 4 flights Thursday morning, all against 21-mile wind. Started from level with engine power alone, average speed. Through the air 31 miles, longest 57 seconds, inform press, home Christmas." The Wright brothers continued to work on the airplanes. The 1903 flyer could only fly in a straight line and for only around 1 minute. Orville and Wilbur spent 2 years making new flyers. They made fixes to the controls, engine, and propellers. Near the end of 1905, their new flyer could fly for more than 30 minutes and do figure eights in the sky. On October 5, 1905, Wilbur flew 24 miles in almost 40 minutes. 4 days later, the Wright brothers wrote a letter to the U.S. War Department. They asked if the government would like to buy the world's first practical airplane. The next book we're reading is Looking at Italy, with permission from GS Publishing. Italy is in southern Europe. It is a long country surrounded by 5 seas. The islands of Sicily, Sardinia, and Capri are also a part of Italy. Rome is Italy's capital city. It has many famous buildings such as the Colosseum from the time of the Roman Empire. It also has modern shops and skyscrapers and beautiful parks. Northern Italy shares its border with 4 other European countries. The high mountains of the Alps are in the northwest, along the borders of France and Switzerland. The Dolomite Mountains are in the northeast, along the borders of Switzerland, Austria, and Slovenia. The weather in northern Italy is cooler and wetter than southern Italy. In autumns, heavy rains can cause flooding. In the mountains of northern Italy, summers are short and winters are very cold, with a lot of heavy snow. The highest mountain peaks are snow-covered all through the year. A strong wind called the Bora blows across northeastern Italy in the winter months. Most of southern Italy has Mediterranean weather, with hot, dry summers, mild winters, and some rain in spring and autumn. In the far south and on the islands of Sicily and Sardinia, the weather is almost always hot and dry. In summer, these areas sometimes have droughts. Italy is known all over the world for its food and cooking. Each region is proud of its own special foods and dishes, such as salami from Bologna and cannoli from Sicily. Pizza and pasta are popular Italian foods. There are hundreds of kinds of pasta, and each region has its own pasta dishes and sauce. Most Italians shop for food at supermarkets, but they also buy fresh foods from street markets and small stores such as butcher shops and bakeries. Italians often use fresh local foods, including olive oil, tomatoes, vegetables, and seasonings to cook their regional dishes. Most Italians enjoy sports. Soccer, cycling, auto racing, basketball, and skiing are all the popular sports in Italy. Italians also enjoy the arts, including art shows, theater, movies, and operas. La Scala in Milan is the most famous opera house in the world. There are colorful festivals in all parts of Italy at all times of the year. Some of these festivals celebrate Christian holidays or saint days. Others celebrate harvest of food, such as wheat and wild mushrooms. Italians dress up for many of the festivals and often have street parades or races. In summer, there is a famous horse race called the Palio through the streets of Siena.